Hi, I'm Tara Christie, President and CEO of Banyan Gold. Banyan Gold is focused on building gold resources in the Yukon. We're immediately adjacent and a lookalike to Victoria Gold's Eagle Gold Mine. We've started our 2022 exploration season early, actually in late January. We started drilling. We planned 30,000 meters this year and a resource update in Q2.
Tara, good to see you. We saw each other in November, but I thought it was worth catching up because you kind of started the year with gusto and a cracking on. So I better find out what's going to be happening this year before you've done it all. So I want to look back though, first at last year. Okay, so last year, not a good year for precious metal companies. A lot of charts look a little bit sad and depressed. I've not quite got back to where they were in the middle of the year. You're a little bit different. What have you done right?
Well, I think we've done what we said we were going to do, which is the first thing. You know, we have a really strong geological model. We set out to drill 30,000 meters. We did that. We've said we're different because we're a year-round exploration story. We're doing that as well. We drilled to December 20th. We picked it up January 26th. We started. We now have 3 drills on the property, and they're turning. They'll contribute to, continuing to expand that power line resource that we've been so excited about. And it's really still early days for power line. Yes, we made that discovery, remember, in spring of 2019, and then drilled out that initial resource in October, November of 2019 for that first 129,000 ounces. And I think you can see that that's been the focus of our drilling and probably where the most resource growth is going to be and continue to be.
So tell me about this. I always talk to our subscribers and followers about fundamental stories. Okay, so companies that just have strong fundamentals. I think you're one of them. But just lay that out in practical terms of what does that mean for you? Like if you take 2021. How did you plan out the year? What were the things that you needed to do in the right order, in the right way, with the right people, with the right budget allocated? I mean, if you look back, so what are the moments you think that were important in terms of setting yourself up for this year?
Well, first of all, we financed in December of 2020, which gave us that strong treasury going into the year. And then as we were drilling, we knew that we'd be able to upsize, we'd be able to acquire the drills and continue to roll through 2021 if we were able to do a financing. So we did that $16 million financing, a very small number of subscription agreements in that, and some great shareholders with, Franklin Gold and Precious Metals coming in, Victoria Gold taking a larger stake, and then a few long holding funds, but not a lot of subscribers. And, we didn't do the traditional 4-month hold flow through funds, which, we didn't end up with that pressure on our stock in November when those flow through funds have to sell. So, that has really set us up, and we took enough money to get us all the way through 2022, drilling last year, that 30,000 meters and another 30,000 this year, plus that resource update. And, we've managed, that's enabled us to get the right people on site. It meant we could sign our drill contracts back in October. And that I think if you don't have a drill lined up for next year already, it's going to be very hard in the Yukon to find people or drills. So, we're different in being year-round. We're also different for our employees. We actually provide year-round work, which means we've really got a good, dedicated crew. We don't have to do that retraining that lots of companies have to do. And importantly, our model keeps proving out, and our technical team is, I think they're really knocking it out of the park. So look forward to a great year this year. And so all of last year really was to set us up right. I've tried to, establish clearly with shareholders what their expectations should be of us, and then deliver on that. 30,000 meters, bang, got that. Results are coming. Yes, labs are slow, but our results are coming in. Those 21 holes we put out this morning show that, the model continues to prove out, and that power line mineralization just continues to grow. And my goals for this year are very, very clear. We plan to drill that 30,000 meters, put out that Q2 resource update, and then start our PA in the fall. We'll get another season of drilling under our feet here before we put out that PEA. We really want to make sure that we've got a lot of area yet to test, and certainly you'll see our drill program adapt here. We came into this year with an idea of where we wanted to drill, expanding power line. We're continuing to do that, as well as we'll get some focus again on Aurex Hill, because I think that's another really exciting target.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot to take in from what you just said. But there's a few little things I think people miss, and certainly I'm probably guilty of that on occasion, which is things like You raised a lot of money for the market cap. You raised a lot of money last year, 16 million from the right people. So the register was important, right? And what it said about industry view of you. I think that's important. But you said something quite interesting there. Is you didn't have that 4-month hold component on the flow through. Juniors under $100 million, they don't usually get that option. It's like that's what the brokers want. That's what investors need because there's a game to be played there. How did you get away with not doing that?
Well, most of it was my book, right? So I set the terms of the financing. There was no warrant. Which is also something you're seeing lots of long-term warrants, which lots of investors want the warrant, and then they sell the shares and hold the warrant for the upside. So I think that set us apart, and you'll notice all of my last financings have been without warrants. We'll have to see what the next financing when it comes and what the market's like then, but I'd really like to maintain that doing financings without warrants. And there's lots of situations where a warrant's a good idea, but for us at this time, it really was the best decision for us to do the financing the way that we did. Great price, it wasn't a discount to market, and no warrant.
Yeah, I think that people should be looking at that because it's a very, very, very strong indicator. The other thing is you've solved one of your problems. You talked about assay delays. You kind of solved that problem in conjunction with VG. So how did that come about?
Well, really, we all suffered through last year from the challenges at the lab, and they had more than just people problems and being able to find the labor. Some of them had cyber attacks and other issues. So, we went from getting nice 20-day turnaround early in the year when we were the only one putting samples into the lab to, 3-4 months. And we were expecting that we're actually going to get all of our assays that we submitted by December before April. So that's, 3-4 months, which still is a very long time. I know lots of companies have had a lot longer. So yes, we have been working with Victoria Gold, and they're really leading because they have a very big drill program this year and they want their results faster. So they're looking at asked all of the independent labs to put together different proposals for an on-site or a dedicated site for our assays. And so it would still be third-party run. We aren't going to be running it, but it would be located at one of our sites or a dedicated. It could be in the community as well. We're waiting to hear back what the final decision is on that, but that will ensure that, Victoria Gold and our assays get preference they are the only ones going into that facility. So that would give us an advantage. And it is the prep labs where there's been a pretty significant delay. Yes, the assay labs also have a bit more of a delay, but because, pulps are pretty light, many assay labs have different facilities all around the world, and they can ship the pulps to wherever to have them actually assayed. But it's that the backlog is really at the prep lab stage. Right. So hopefully this is going to work out for us. That facility is not in place yet, so we are still continuing to use a lab in Whitehorse and delivering our samples there. But I think we're the only ones delivering samples to them, so it should be relatively fast.
Let's hope so. Well, I'm talking about fundamentals and building blocks, the way that you've gone about sort of steadily piecing this together in the right way, in the right order, at the right price, etc., with the right skill sets. 12 months of the year. But now you've got to keep delivering. You've got 30,000 meter program this year too, which can you just give us a bit more detail in terms of that drill program? Where are you going? I know you gave some headlines a second ago, but where, why, how much, how many meters, to what end, I guess, is the important bit.
Yeah, and so lots of questions. Why haven't you started to infill yet? Yes, we did do that little section in the northeast corner. You saw we drilled at 25 meter spacings along cardinal and intercardinal lines, really to show us the grade continuity and give our QP comfort. And that will inform what we have to do for eventually converting it to higher levels of confidence in the resource. We're not going to do that quite yet because I'm not sure. And I think our shareholders deserve us to do some more exploration towards resource growth before we start to convert it. Because remember, we found Powerline in 2019. It was a blind discovery. There's a huge area yet to explore. And we think that we can correlate what we're seeing at Powerline within a very specific resistive unit that we can see. And we know that it potentially goes over 16 kilometers, and we focused on about 2 kilometers and then a little bit up at Aurex Hill. That combined with that very strong soil anomaly up at Aurex Hill, which is over 10 square kilometers, we've only drilled 0.25 of a kilometer there. So really, there's a huge area, and I think we do have to get out and put some more holes in it. So the other really exciting thing that we found last year was that higher grade right near surface trend through the east and the west in the northern part of the power line area. So we're going to really focus on that, continuing to step out east and west. We know that the mineralization likely, continues north-south in there as well, but let's step out along that and see if we can find some of that higher grade. We're also, looking at all the structural measurements we have from last year, combining it with our geophysics. We're going to drill a couple off-section holes, which will give us some more information too on the structure and maybe some controls on that higher grade. But there's a huge land package here, 173 square kilometers. There's a lot more potential to get out there to drill. So, we're going to kind of look at the 80-20 rule, 80% continued really focused resource growth, 20% a little bit further out, maybe testing a few of our little bit further out targets, which could be very exciting if they, deliver.
Okay, so that answers the next question, which is, what was the ratio of that 30,000 meters? So let's talk about the resource upgrade and then subsequent PEA. So that you'll have done that infill by when? And because there's a few other things, there's some questions that were sent in. People are sort of intrigued about, the kind of the step outs. Sorry, the infill distances. I think a few people have mooted how you're going to do it. But are you at the point where you can make those decisions yet? I mean, what's the process you're going to go through there?
This next resource update will tell us what that kind of preferred distance is from our QP
and cutoff
and really
as well along the way.
Pardon me?
And also, with regards to cutoff and so forth, is all that part of the same process?
Yeah, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself and saying, the cutoff grade is going to be this. We know what the cutoff grade was of our original resource, but cutoff grade influences the overall grade of the resource, as well as you got to look at how it impacts strip ratio and the mineability of the deposit. Because we are looking at a pit constrained deposit with a resource. That's what we'd like to have. So just got to give us a little time, see what comes out of that new resource update, and then we'll commit to what those numbers are going to be. And, we're not going to focus on improving or upgrading the resource to measured and indicated at this point. We can do a PEA on an inferred resource. We need to continue to grow the total resource and also, take a look at some of those other targets. If there's something up on Aurex Hill, it really does make sense. Right on surface, gravity works with you. If you can find a starter pit somewhere in there where you get some significant higher grade than the overall bulk resource, that could be really important for the project economics if it goes into becoming a mine. Okay,
and in terms of the exploration component, the kind of blue sky, as it were, it does we'll do a few things for you. I get we need to do the resource upgrade because we want to feed that into the PEA. You want to do the blue sky to give people a sense of the scale of the opportunity. You're sitting on a large land package. You actually recently acquired a little bit more. So is that right? Have you acquired a little bit more, or are we?
Quite a little bit more of a land package. Yeah. We have a huge land package, 173 square kilometers. The bulk of our exploration is really in an area of 4 by 5 kilometers.
Right.
So
okay.
Huge area yet to be explored.
Right. So the upside to that is obviously, it gets people excited about the potential. But are you doing any other type of exploration activity over and above the drilling?
In the summertime, we will do some more soil samples, particularly the southern part of our property has not been soil sampled even. And then we have another look-alike project. We think it's a look-alike. We call it the Nitra. It's off to the west. We did some soil sampling this year. We'd like to get in there and do more soil sampling to look for additional targets similar to Powerline, as well as some trenching and potentially some drilling.
Right, and so just for the uninitiated, because a lot of new people coming into the metal space from technology and this Gen Z crowd sort of trying to understand all these complicated words that you're using. So soil sampling is important process. Why?
It is really a first look at a property. It gives you an idea of where there might be anomalous gold mineralization in the soil before you get in and do more expensive and more ground disturbing techniques like drilling or trenching. And you don't want to just drill blind. When we drilled Powerline, and I say it was blind, it wasn't totally blind. We had some old core that we logged. We thought that overall the rock package looked like it was, the same type of host rock. So you really want to do that basic work before you go in and do drilling, because drilling's expensive. You're paying $25,000 per hole. You want to make sure you get that hole in a location that's highly prospective. And that's something our team does really well. If you look at our record of drill holes over the last 40 kilometers of drilling, I don't think there's one hole that's really a duster, which is, something where there's no anomalous gold mineralization at all. So that's a pretty good record, I think, showing that our team really does know what they're doing. I know that's a very technical term, but
no, but there's an interesting point that feeds on from what you're saying, which is no dusters. We have minimal success, then we have commercial success, and the process you're going through is to try and work out targets that you can go and explore further. So, and that's a big part of this kind of soil sampling and et cetera.
Yep. You've got to do that groundwork first. And some of it's, not glamorous. And I think that's kind of our story. When we acquired this property in 2017, we did that really basic work. We compiled historic data. We relogged old core. We tried to put together a model, and then we very efficiently went out and did small drill programs to test that model before we, blew a big budget. And I think that's one thing that we try to do very well, is use our shareholders' dollars well. Yes, that original resource was $2 per ounce. We think we're adding ounces for $5 to $6 per ounce right now. We try very hard to keep our drill costs low. We did invest quite a bit last year in putting in 2 camps so that we could facilitate having 3 drills. We even had 4 drills at the end of last year to try and get that 40 or 30,000 meters completed before Christmas. So we know we now have the infrastructure for that. And we've invested in everything from the equipment that we need to core shacks, so that we're well set up to be able to drill in the winter, which lets you keep people. And it also means that long term, it'll keep our cost of drilling down, because we own a lot of the things that on site. We own our camp. We don't have to rent it from somebody else. That's really important.
I know you never get ahead of yourself. You like to make sure everything's been done properly, but Sprott, young Brock here in London, Brock Sallier, good guy, knowledgeable guy, has put out a bit of coverage on you guys. He thinks that this is easily 3 million ounces. So, like I said, it's a ways off, given where we're at and what you've got to deliver in 2022. If you are working towards that, that's going to obviously, that's going to be good news for Victoria Gold, right? Big shareholder. It'll be good news for all of our shareholders, and good news for your shareholders, because if you get anything over 2 million ounces, you're going to get noticed. But and again, I get this are early days here, but some companies like to kind of get ahead of themselves and maybe put out those big headlines, etc. So, how are you going to approach that? I mean, I guess you're flattered by that Sprott report, but at the same time, you've got to then maybe deliver against it, or maybe you've got a different view about where you're going to get to before you say, well, actually, now's a good moment for shareholders, good moment for us, and maybe whoever else may want to walk in here. So, how do you approach those sorts of reports in the market? I've always said that I think in the Yukon generally, 3 million ounces is an important threshold number, because it, very similar to what Victoria Gold had when they, put together their feasibility study and permitted, and that was able to convert to a 2 million ounce reserve. And then you can get a feasibility study where you get 200,000 ounces per year for 10 years. Okay. So that's, I think it's a very important mental threshold, because it shows that's what was needed in this jurisdiction for a heap leach mineable project of a similar grade to be economic and to be actually built and operated and now cash flowing and being successful. So that is a great comparable for us. And I think if we can get to that level of a resource, we will get noticed. It is the next threshold for us. And then beyond that,
showing that there's multi-million ounce potential on the property. If you look at Victoria Gold, they've continued to define more resources with exploration, both beneath their pits and, across their property. And they have a huge land package as well. So I think given that that's the same mineralized system that's on our property, this was a very long-lived system that produced all the gold on our property, their property. So that's really exciting. I think that this really is the next mining district in Canada for gold and, yes, silver right beside us with Alexco. So getting to that, and I'm pleased to see, Sprott coverage, and hope we get some other analyst coverage as well. And, he does that from a basis of knowledge, because we do put all of our drill collars and our assays up on our website so that people can download the full spreadsheet and do their own real analysis without having to go through every single news release. And our holes are really quite similar, 100-meter spaced holes, all going north, dipping 60 degrees. That's a pretty simple deposit. It's roughly, we're seeing these 15-degree sheeted veins, so roughly horizontal. We know the mineralization goes to depth, but we're not chasing it at depth because we are really focused on, let's make this a open pit heap leach story with low strip ratio right from surface. And that really then is comparable to what Victoria Gold has. So yes, we're trying to be cautious and not saying what we have yet, because we have that 900,000 ounces. You can see how far we've expanded the mineralization, and we'll wait and see what we get from our QP here in Q2. That's coming up really fast. So we wanted to put out a significant number of holes this morning. 21 holes is enough to make people kind of go, wow, look at how much more mineralization that has added.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And it continues to be consistent, in terms of the numbers that intersect intersects as well. So it's impressive stuff. Like, keep doing what you say you're going to do. We're watching with great interest from the sidelines as to, how you're progressing and how you're getting on. And I've enjoyed talking to you over the past couple of years and seeing how it's developed. Because I think if you remember, you're about 6 million market cap when we met.
Yeah.
Seems a long time ago.
It might have even been 3 million.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't that long ago. That was still 2020 when we were, before we put out that resource in May. And I think that's another interesting thing, is to look at how what happened after we put out that resource, and it was in COVID, right? So it was May of 2020, and we put out that resource, and, the market saw a little increase, and then, it was hard to market, here's a great resource, here's a great story, but it was all virtual. And thankfully we had some great relationships in order to be able to do that. And then, then you could see the share price really start to appreciate, but it took a little bit of time. So hopefully with us, things getting a little better on the COVID front, it'll be easier to get out and market. I'm heading off to the BMO conference. I just did a conference in Whistler this last week, talking to lots of shareholders, old and new. And, I think that Q2 is going to be a really exciting time for us. And all of 2022 with our drill results and what we have planned. So hopefully you're not sitting on the sidelines too long, because it's an exciting time for us.